Welcome to the Live Full, Work Fun podcast. This is the show to encourage you to live your life to the fullest and do fun work that fuels your lifestyle. Hi, I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. Every week, you'll be introduced to amazing guests, useful resources, and inspirational stories. You'll discover opportunities and perspectives to shape your version of living full and working fun. Hi there and welcome to the Live Full Work Fun podcast. This season, we're exploring the theme, Don't Let the Start Stop You. It's a powerful reminder that while beginnings can be daunting, they're also the gateway to growth, success, and happiness. Throughout this season, we're discussing how to push through those initial difficulties and take that important first step towards your big goals, even when it feels overwhelming. I'm Gayla Scrivener, joined by my co-host, Fran Attilio. Hey there, Fran.
Hey, Gayla.
I have a question for you. Have you ever had the feeling of that you've got so much to do and you feel like you're so busy, you don't even know where to start, and so you don't even start anything?
So many times, but there is a most recent one just earlier this month where, Gayla, I can remember feeling so overwhelmed and not knowing where to start that I literally sat down on the floor of my living room and looked at my daughters and went, I can't get up. I was so absolutely paralyzed by overwhelm. And here, you and I, we have all the tools. We talk about this stuff, but it got to the point that the thoughts, the to-do lists, that no one was doing this to me. It was my own thinking. And I just collapsed. I literally collapsed. And I will tell you, I know a lot of it ties to the messages and training that we have been taught in our corporate brain careers.
Keep going.
And
it's tied to work ethic, I think. You got to always be working. Just keep on trudging through. But I have been frozen. We've got the tools. In our mind, we know what we need to do to take that first step. Don't let the start stop us. We know that we need to take that initial first step, but it happens to the best of us. That task paralysis. We use all of our tools. We have our asanas. We have our to-do lists. We have everything that we know that we need to do. And then we sit in the middle of the room and we just I don't even know where to start. Logically, we do, but what is the highest priority and what should we start now? I go through this periodically, and if you have to just move on, what do you do?
So I pulled on a couple of different lessons that I had, which is when you feel the struggle, and we all do, you have a choice in that moment. And I felt the struggle and I made a choice. So, right, our choices are what it's up. But I'm in the middle of writing a series at the time of this recording that I have the whole series done, but we're just publishing it. And it's about perfection and undoing perfection. And there's 10 words that we give to try to, and I pulled on one of those words, which was progress. I said, okay, stop worrying about being perfect. Stop worrying about making sure every client project is perfect and exactly where you want it to be, not necessarily where it and oftentimes where a project is exactly where it's supposed to be. But I have this idea of perfection. Oh, I was on this timeline and ABC should be done by now. According to whose rules? You know what I mean? If I'm still on track to meet the deadline, just because it isn't where I thought it should be, doesn't mean it's in the wrong place. So I looked at each project and I went, have I made progress? Okay, I did on these 3. This one, I need to make a little more progress. I'm going to focus over here today. The other side of it, Gayla, was, and I think this is more of a personal development thing, we get wrapped up in, some of us, I don't want to speak for everyone, what we think the other person thinks about us. We project onto them our own insecurities and say, oh my gosh, they're mad at me. They're disappointed I haven't finished this. Some in consulting, we might go as far as they're going to fire me, they're going to let me go. And you spiral. And then that's not the case. That's the primal mind, that fear-based mind. I'm in I call it an intermediate awareness state where I can catch those thoughts now. And I go, wait a second, that you just got off the phone with that client yesterday. They're fine. This is your own projection. So the combination of personal development as well as these productivity tools that I have, I literally pulled on that day. And I'm not going to say I stood back up, but I definitely got on bended knee. It was one step closer to see. And then the next day I did a little more, and the next day a little more. And I just took baby steps.
That's what stops us, though. That's what gets us into overwhelm. How I see it is that, okay, we do have this perfectionism. We want things right. We have these high standards, but I think that we also put higher standards on ourselves. Misalignment of how long certain things may take. But then if we're projecting what others may be thinking about us, that's also lending us, we're trying to please other people. And maybe we're not setting our own boundaries and we're saying yes too much. And so, like, let's say talking about a client project, for me, I might take on more and more because I know I can do that. But I have been working on for so long, and I fall back into old habits of yes, however, these are the parameters that I can do this in, instead of saying yes and putting unrealistic timeline attached to something. But then also some things in what we're doing and helping others or helping our clients, there's some things that need to be finished first before we can get on to another thing. And learning how to be real with not only ourselves, but communicating with our clients and being okay with setting those boundaries of, yes, however, this is the time constraints. But I think we have to be real with ourselves first and have a real talk with ourselves to say, hey, Gayla, it's not going to take you 10 minutes to do this, but to fully go through this project, triple, quadruple the time because things come up, and being in the mind space to do that. But I recently have had that paralysis, task paralysis, and just where do I start? It seems like every client, all the projects are of equal importance. And even my projects, I would always push to the end and then feel like I'm always last minute. I procrastinate in doing something for my own business or for myself, and then emergencies come up, and then I've got more stress. And what I was doing was just pausing, and we've talked about this. Sometimes it's better to pause, but I paused and then just picked one and did one small step. And that's what this whole series is. What is that one small step, first step that you can take that will get the ball rolling? And I was telling you just yesterday that I was feeling really good because even though I have all of these equally important projects, I hammered out this one particularly challenging client's project. I started with that first step, and then it just rolled into something more. And you told me it was flow. Tell me about that.
Yes. So flow is a state. Now, this isn't just from my program, Adapt and Flow. Flow has been written about by a number of different authors. It's studied from psychologists to brain scientists. There's all kinds of states of discussions and studies of flow and proof of it. And flow is where you reach a point in where you can pass the fear-based mind and come into a state, I'm going to use words that might sound a little woo-woo, but state of consciousness that fear is removed and you see more clearly. You time moves slower in this state of flow because, and what's funny is you can do it. You may not even realize you've been in a state of flow where exactly what you just described, Gayla, you pick this small task, you get that done completely. Pick this next task, you get that done. Now, in order to get to flow, there are things like you should know your priorities. There's so many blocks to flow, and most of them are in our own minds. They're our own thoughts. So, flow is where you literally are able to maneuver where one task leads to the other. All of a sudden, within a short amount of time, you've accomplished several tasks, whether they be personal, professional. This is a life thing, flow. So I'll give you an example. When I wake up in the morning, I do meditation and movement. And after that, I listen to what's the right and best next thing. I do have priorities. I want to now make sure I have a new thing for the best optimization of my health, which is to move an hour a day. And I do part of that in the morning. I think, okay, if I want to do that and I have all these other shoulds, which is the most important one. No, my movement's the most important one, those shoulds. And it helps you battle the shoulds. So flow is this connecting to yourself and trusting that you know what's right and best. I think another part of task analysis and why we battle flow, because flow is available to all of us, whether we know it or not. And the state of flow is there all the time to step into. We have one list of what we think we should be doing, and then the list of real priorities is overlooked. So we talk a lot about our clients, and we can easily slip into making almost our entire days, weeks about our clients and our jobs. And then you feel this tug. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to have social time. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to spend time with my family. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to spend time and do things I like to do. Yes, to all of that. But that might mean one of those other things has to be, you have to think about what your priorities are, set some goals on each week. Well, I'm going to give this much to personal time, this much to time with friends, and then I have this rest for work. That helps the flow because you know where you want to put your time. Flow is simple to get into, but can often have some major obstacles to get there. But it really is this, what's that right best next step to help keep me moving forward, knowing what my priorities are?
And sometimes that next best step, honestly, is cloudy. But when you take that, I think the one thing that was not mentioned in the flow, but what I have found that keeps me into the flow is that you must celebrate. You did that first step. Yes, you have a cajillion other tasks, a cajillion things. Don't focus on that. Don't focus on that. Even if it's for 30 seconds, you celebrate that you got that first next step done because then that's going to give you that energy to do that next little step. And the celebration is what you need to have to dampen those negative ninny thoughts that you have of
Absolutely.
and if you don't celebrate, and it may sound so silly, just like, oh, I got this social post done, yay, you know, and actually with your body, your mind, you celebrate, focus on, all right, yeah, there's other things to be done, but guess what? I did this. That's why I like Asana. When you check off things, it has the extra unicorns and neural
Yes.
words and stuff like that go across your screen. I mean that's a celebration. That is helping. That tool, Asana, knows that yeah, you need to celebrate when you do certain things. And it may sound so silly. Okay, I celebrated. I cracked open my journal and I wrote a page. And if that's hard for you, which it is for me, I love that that's more of a habit for you and I'm formulating that habit. So I start and stop. But celebrating that you did, then it lifts your spirit. And so when we get into this task analysis, we have that critical voice in our head that's overshadowing every other voice. And I think it's important that it's not a flip of a switch. Getting out of task paralysis is not a flip of a switch. So, celebration, no matter how minor it may be that you're celebrating, it gets you into that flow. And that's what I was doing with that difficult client is like, oh, I got this piece done. So I will take a break. I'm going to celebrate, go for a walk. Well, I'll celebrate that. Oh, I'm coming back because I've got my mind free that I can do that next best step for that client. And did I have this voice in the back of my mind tinging me that there's this other equally important client that I have that I feel behind on? Yes, but I just need to reset those boundaries, reset the priorities in that, and I can get that done because I've gotten so much done on this other thing. So compartmentalizing and having focus time, but my perception or my experience is the more that we celebrate, the more that our minds are open to get into lost in time and space, that flow.
I really love that, and I would love to share a tool that is simple to do to celebrate. So sometimes, depending on where are in the journey, to celebrate or say you're proud of yourself can be a hard thing, right? Because we have all these messages that we're undoing. You and I are we're in a different space. I learned a tool called stacking the positive. And what I did, and I used it that week. So when you're in task paralysis or in overwhelm, right? Typically your lists are negative. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I should be doing this. I never do that. Right. So the day after I was sitting on the living room floor, I pulled on this tool. And what I did is I kept a piece of paper next to me. It was blank. And as I got something done, even if it was put the dishes away, I made a list. I made a list of all the things I did that day that I got done, no matter how small. And I filled the page. I did that for several days to help me be like it, because when you're in task paralysis, you almost believe that you're not doing anything. You forget that you are still alive, moving and getting things done. And what I also found through that list is I had some big things I was dealing with personally. And that's why it was taking up where my time was going. And I also recognized that's where my time needed to be going. So all of a sudden I gave myself grace to say, wait, you're doing okay. You're right where you're supposed to be. It led me to the next step, which was to ask for help from my team, as well as help from family members on the personal side of things. Stacking the positive could be a first step to learning how to celebrate.
Absolutely. I love that. I have truly loved this episode. The best of us, no matter how many tools we have, I think we all slip into this negative ninny, our inner voices, because we're all so driven. I hope that this episode has inspired you guys who are listening to take action, to pause, celebrate something to get you into that flow. Know that you're not alone. We're not perfect beings, and trying to be perfect gets us into task paralysis. So take a deep breath, be graceful with yourself, and we'd love to hear if you've ever suffered task paralysis. Send us a message. Any final words, Fran?
I love the message you just sent. Just know you're not alone. Anytime, whether it's task paralysis or anything that makes you feel overwhelmed, know that there are others out there who are going through the same thing. And sometimes that alone helps lift you up.
Well, remember, every successful journey begins with that first step, no matter how big or how tiny that first step is. Don't let the start stop you from pursuing your dreams and creating the business and life you desire. Until next time, live full, work fun.